Should we take away a stock from Ultimate's rule set? Now, this question first popped into my head a few days ago when I was watching Evo, and obviously Smash is no longer at Evo, but I was watching a bunch of other fighting game tournaments, and I kind of saw the hype of the crowd, and it really got me thinking about how hype crowds get in comparison at certain Smash tournaments and what's really key to get a crowd really hype and to get high viewership and stuff like that. And one of the biggest things that I noticed is how short certain sets of other games are, especially all other fighting games are, compared to a Smash Ultimate set, right? And how far a Smash Ultimate set can really go. Because if you really break it down, if you look at it, if you go on like YouTube and you search up like random Tekken set X guy versus X guy, you'll see the set in around, it could be like 15 minutes maximum for the whole set, right? And that's like going long. You'll see a game finish in 3 minutes and it's just over like that, right? But if you go search up like ultimate sets, best of 5 sets between Tweak and Leo, you'll see a set going 30 minutes plus, right? And then you get the bad matchup sets where you'll see a Sonic versus a Diddy or any type of camping set, and you'll see it go an hour plus, right? And you're like, as a spectator, how are you gonna want how is the spectator supposed to be engaged watching an hour long set, right? Like this is not even an hour of gameplay. This is just an hour of real time from where the set begins, from where the players sit down, to where the set ends and the players get up and shake hands and whatever, right? So how can spectators actually be engaged in watching this game with that long? And because I've seen a lot of people complaining about certain characters now, especially in the meta we're in. It's kind of become a lot more common to see timeout characters, right? Characters like Sonic, characters like Pikachu, even characters like Steve, who aren't necessarily timeout characters, but their game plan is very, very camping heavy. You see characters like these thriving and making waves in certain scenes, and I think it's important to say that, when people say that the game is dead or the game is dying, the game isn't actually dead. There are still people going to compete in these tournaments, right? I think Supernova, which is going to come up in just a bit, is going to be either the most or one of the most entered Smash tournaments ever. So it's not like attendance is down, but as a spectator sport, right? If you're talking about spectators, then viewership is overall very, very down. And I think the way people talk about the game is also very, very negative now, which is a big change from say years past when it was mostly positive with extremely high viewership numbers both on Twitch and YouTube. Now you'll get certain restreams which will have a fourth of the viewership as the official streams do on Twitch, which beforehand was unheard of, because I think we got, in past years you would get like 60k viewers on a random tournament in the weekend, and now you'll see your super majors barely cracking like 20k. So I think as a whole, when talking about stuff like banning Steve or lowering the I saw some people suggesting lowering the timer to 5 minutes. However, I don't think that's a good solution, because that would just emphasize camping more. You would only have to camp for 5 minutes rather than those extra 2 minutes, which would make the camping characters only stronger. However, I thought about, why don't we just reduce the stock count to 2, right? This was a decision that was made very, very early Ultimate. I think a lot of people just kind of automatically went with 3 stocks just because Ultimate seemed like I don't know if it was a larger game or in the end of Smash 4, people thought that 2 stocks was too volatile, especially with certain characters, Cloud Bayo, who were able to take stocks at 0% very, very easily. So they thought that, okay, we need to increase stocks. Ultimate is a little bit of a faster game in terms of movement, so stocks will go quicker, stuff like that. So let's up it to 3 stocks, 7 minutes, and that's kind of just been the agreed upon rule set the entirety of Ultimate. There's never really been a discussion about, should we do 2 stocks? No, it's just always been 3. But I think if you truly wanted to make it to where it's not only fun for players, because a lot of players are disappointed in losing perspective on some of the stuff that they want to do. Who wants to go play against a timeout Sonic or a timeout Pikachu, right? But I think it would be a lot easier to deal with, especially if these characters didn't have 3 stocks to mess with, right? If you have 2 stocks, the game increasingly becomes more volatile. Every action is more risky, because if you lose a stock, you're suddenly on your last stock, instead of having like an SD stock, right? Certain players will SD a lot, but in the end of the game, you know, it might matter a little bit, but you still have 2 stocks that you can increasingly make up, which is why you'll see some big comebacks happen like all the time. It would also decrease the amount of time that takes for each set, which would increase the hype in crowds, right? Crowds can get much more invested in small, short sets, right? If there's a big set of the day and these players make it through bracket all leading up to a Leo tweak set that is only going to last 15 minutes, you can bet that those 15 minutes are going to be incredibly hype matches. And that's not saying that Ultimate cannot produce these hype matches, because obviously with 3 stocks in years past and even still today, you can find some increasingly hype sets. I just think that at this point, if you really want to revive or even have some semblance of a revival in terms of Ultimate spectating and just the overall community's look on how sets are played and how the current meta of the game is, I think experimenting with lowering a stock, even if it's just one tournament and seeing how it goes, or playing an online bracket with 2 stocks, I think it would be very interesting to see how it was. And you know, I might even test it out. I thought about it the other day, just going into Elite Smash and seeing if I can get 2 stock matches and seeing how it really compares to 3 stock matches and if the feel is any different and whatsoever. But let me know what you guys think about if we should lower Ultimate's rule set to 2 stocks, if you guys think that would be a good idea, especially in terms of just getting more viewership to the game and making the current meta less campy and more hype than it already is. But as always, I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time.